You're just living life up as a member of a wealthy family in the 10th century, enjoying all the niceties that your family has, not much of a care in the world. But one day, your father says that he needs you to attend a duel he's part of. Put in this position where you can't really say no, you attend with a mixture of excitement and nervousness building up in your stomach. Before you know it, the duel is over. Who won? You look at your father. He looks fine. No blood or anything to indicate that he's been hurt. You turn to his opponent. On the ground. You didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. What's next? How do you handle this? This is exactly what Saint Romuald went through, and soon you'll learn exactly how he handled it, and how it not only shaped his future, but the future of countless others. Howdy all, and welcome back to another episode of the Sanctified Podcast, the show where we explore the stories of various saints throughout history and learn about what they did and how we came to recognize them as saints today. Today, we're going to explore the life of Saint Romuald, who, after experiencing a traumatic event, turned to faith for answers and left behind valuable lessons. So just real quick, I looked up how to pronounce his name because it's a little tricky to me, and I checked like 5 different sources and each one pronounced it differently. So I apologize if I mess up the name. If it's wrong, let me know, just so we can get that corrected. But without further ado, let's get into Romuald's story. He was born in Ravenna, Italy, around the year 950, likely 952, but it's not 100% certain. His family was a wealthy aristocratic family, the Onesti family, and his parents were Sergius Deglio Onesti and Traversata Traversari. And being wealthy, they could spoil their boy Romuald, and Romuald gladly accepted these gifts and these special treatment. What, did you think that I was going to say Romuald passed on these gifts and all the special treatment? What normal kid would pass on cool gifts? Romuald was just a normal kid whose parents had money. He wasn't actually like a particularly devout child. He was just an old dude in the 10th century. But later in life, Romuald would admit to indulging in the pleasures the world had to offer, and that he was easily tempted by the sins around him, which were plenty common for a wealthy young man in his time. So he really wasn't any different from a 20-year-old kid nowadays. If anything, there's more temptation nowadays than he would have had. But when he was 20, his father asked him to witness a duel between him and another man. Duels were common enough, and presumably they weren't unheard of for Romuald. But witnessing one firsthand, it would be a life-changing event for many people, and it certainly was for Romuald. Now, some sources do say it was a duel between Sergius and another relative of Romuald, but that's not exactly clear who the opponent actually was. If it was a relative and somebody Romuald knew personally, it could explain a little more of the reaction that Romuald had, but it's not necessarily a relative. In any event, Romuald went to the Basilica of Saint Romuald in class right after the duel to perform 40 days of penance. In that time, he decided that he would become a monk there. Now bear in mind, the basilica had just recently been reformed by Saint Romuald of Cluny, but Romuald felt that it was still too lenient. And he made this sentiment known, regularly berating the other monks on not being devout enough. He built a good bit of animosity between himself and the others. And so he kind of decided that he was going to ask to become a hermit in Venice. Everyone else was like, oh, yes, please, go anywhere else. We're kind of tired of you. And so his request was approved, and Romuald left for Venice. When he arrived, he started following the guidance of another hermit, Marinus, and together they lived an extremely austere lifestyle. And yes, austere does already imply extremity, but he went above and beyond. Remember, even other monks thought that his way was overbearing. So you can kind of see that he really wasn't always a perfectly faithful person. He sinned in his youth, and he held his faith over others as a young adult. But he eventually found balance. It wasn't about being the best at all times. He did what he thought was right in a given moment. Maybe it was right, maybe it was wrong, but all that mattered in the end was that he found the truth and found balance. After a few years of living with Marinus, a situation arose involving Pietro Rosciolo, Doge of Venice. Around 978, he grew remorseful of his past. He attained his position of power by being involved in the murder of his predecessor. So I think his remorse is kind of well earned in that case, right? But he sought help and he sought guidance. Pietro talked to the abbot of Saint Michel de Cusa, Garinus, as well as Marinus and Romuald. They advised him to leave his position and go to Cusa, where he would join the order of Saint Benedict. Romuald and Marinus went with him, and together they built a small hermitage near the monastery. Over the next decade, Romuald took advantage of the library that was there, and it helped shape his understanding and adoption of monasticism. It was here that Romuald found the balance that his reputation left behind. After that decade studying in the library, Romuald spent the next couple of decades traveling all over Italy and reforming monasteries and hermitages. His reputation grew so much that advisors to the Roman Emperor Otto III suggested that Romuald should take the vacant seat as abbot of Saint Romuald class to help reform that monastery. And remember, this was a monastery that he started at that he requested to leave because he didn't like how they did things. And Romuald agreed, and he started trying to reform the community, but they didn't like his changes, and they were really stubborn and just would not listen to anything he said. So after a year, Romuald moved on and went to live a hermit lifestyle again. But what were these reform changes that Romuald wanted that others so strongly rejected? He believed in smallness, solitude, love, and the triple good, which was a term that Emperor Otto III coined, pretty much inspired by Romuald. Smallness and solitude kind of go hand in hand. He felt that large monasteries weren't really the best way to practice God's ways, and that smaller communities living on austerity were a better way to go. And he personally preferred solitude altogether, though it wasn't something that he felt was a requirement. He just thought it was a better way to develop a connection to God, and he encouraged others to do it, but he doesn't like you have to do it. I just think it's a better way to go. Within this lifestyle, Romuald spread his love of the Lord to anyone and everyone, as he became a sort of missionary hermit. He invited those in need to join him. The poor, the homeless, the sick, everybody was welcome in his home. And while they were there, they would bear witness to his devotion, and many were inspired by him. And altogether, this became known as the Triple Good. Again, a title that was started by the emperor that Romuald worked so closely with. A simple monastic lifestyle, devoted to faith and vows, combined with solitude and being a hermit, and sharing his love through missionary work, it was all a recipe for success. Romuald inspired countless individuals in his own time, and even more after he died. Is it really that crazy for monks to live like that? I don't really think so. I mean, I'm not a monk, but clearly the monks at Saint Romuald in class sure thought it was a little bit much. Later on, in 1012, he found himself at the Diocese of Arezzo. While there, he was given some land to live on, and there he built 5 cells or dwellings for any hermits that wanted to come. And this was the beginnings of the Camaldolese Hermits of Mount Corona. And this was the foundation of a group that truly found balance between a hermetic life and a monastic one. Just 2 years later, the monastery at Fontabueno helped establish the building as the mother house, or the headquarters, of the Camaldolese order. But Romuald's work wasn't done. He still went around establishing other monasteries, including the monastery of Val di Castro. And it was there that Romuald passed away on June 19th, 1027, in his mid to late 70s, which really is pretty old for his time. Today, many still observe the rule that he said centuries ago, and it is, sit in your cell as in a paradise, put the whole world behind you and forget it. Watch your thoughts like a good fisherman watching for a fish. The path you must follow is in the Psalms. Never leave it. If you have just come by the monastery and in spite of your goodwill you cannot accomplish what you want, take every opportunity you can to sing the Psalms in your heart and to understand them with your mind. And if your mind wanders as you read, do not give up. Hurry back and apply your mind to the words once more. Realize, above all, that you are in God's presence. And stand there with the attitude of one who stands before the emperor. Empty yourself completely and sit waiting, content with the grace of God, like a chick who tastes nothing and eats nothing but of what his mother brings him. And I really like this rule. I'm not like saying oh, I want to go be a monk, or oh, you should go be a monk. It's just like pieces of this rule that you could really just apply. Like, your mind does wander, and it's okay. You'll circle back to it. Just don't beat yourself up over something. Just keep chugging along. Romuald was buried at Val di Castro, but 400 years later, his body was exhumed, and it was found to be perfectly preserved. He was an incorruptible. His body was then moved to Fabriano, and today the church he was buried at is known as Saint Romuald's. There is a legend, though, that when he was dug up, he was in a sacrilegious manner, and though his body was revealed to be incorrupt, it disintegrated in front of everyone there. But this legend doesn't explain how he got to be buried at Fabriano, so I'm not so sure that I buy into this legend, but still a little fun bit to know. We don't know his beatification date, but we know that he was canonized in 1595 by Pope Clement VIII. And perhaps he was canonized through equivalent canonization. That's also a little iffy. But some of the miracles that he performed included curing a terrible toothache by just breathing on the person, healing an insane person with a kiss. And this one isn't quite a miracle, but it shows the reputation that he had for the other miracles he performed. People would grab at his sheepskin that he wore in hopes of getting a piece that would hold the healing power that he possessed. And after his death, numerous other healing miracles were reported around his grave. It is also said that he would weep uncontrollably over the Eucharist because he was so remorseful of his sins and for all the sins of others. But there were also tears for joy over the redemption that the Eucharist held. He is the patron saint of the Camaldolese order of Camaldoli Fabriano in Sepolcro, Italy, and Suwałki, Poland, where he actually sent a group of missionaries to Poland who were sadly martyred a year after their arrival. He's also considered by some to be a patron saint of hermits, retreats, and contemplatives, though officially those patronages are associated with other saints more prominently. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. So, what are your thoughts on Saint Romuald? Do you think that you could live the ways that he suggested? I hope you found his story interesting, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to support the channel, you can subscribe, download the episode, like, comment, share it with your friends, or send me a suggestion on a saint to check out by emailing me at sanctifiedpodcast@proton.me. You can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Podbean, and more. Just search for the Sanctified Podcast, and I should have a few episodes uploaded on whatever service you like to use. Take care, and have a wonderful day.